This week in a conversation, I have the privilege to welcome two wonderful acclaimed. One is a composer, the other one is an acclaimed novelist. I'll be speaking with composer David Bazo, who's going to be joining me from Spain, and Tonya Penrose is going to be joining me from the great state of Georgia. So this is very interesting, something I've never done before. I have a duo, someone writing a novel, and then with the inspiration and infusion of musical into the story. So let's let them tell us all about it. But before we get into this interesting video, I just want to remind you of my own creations. I want to talk about my last year's sequel titled Last Spring Was Bittersweet. Available everywhere they sell books. So I'm asking you, as I always do, the best way to support my literary journey is to ultimately support my writing by ordering copies of them. So remember, in 2022, I published the first one, which is book one, titled Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring. And last July, I published the sequel, Last Spring Was Bittersweet. And do your best and support the conversation, support Ardain. And also, the best way to support the conversation is to invite friends and other folks that you know, people who fascinated about literature, to subscribe to this channel. And if they do subscribe, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it's going to be directly on your portable. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this evening or this afternoon or this morning. It depends on where you are across the world, with two impeccable artists, writers, composers. I'm here with David Bazo, who's joining me from Spain, from Europe, and he's such an impeccable composer. He's an acclaimed, award-winning musician. He has captivated many minds. And tonight, it's such a pleasure, wonderful pleasure for me to have him first in the conversation.
My pleasure completely, Ardain.
Thank you, David. And I'm here with novelist Tonya Penrose. She is not new in the conversation. If you remember last time, we had such a wonderful chat about a brilliant novel that she's written under the title Welcome to Charm. But this evening, it's an entirely, completely different story we're going to be speaking about. And it's a blend. It's really something I have never seen before, Tonya. And when I saw, the book, when I saw when I learned about the way in which you have come to realize such an impeccable piece of art, I said to myself, it is time for me to sit down with you again and the author and David to do this. And Tonya, I have to say welcome again into the conversation.
Thank you. I loved getting the invitation to come back again. You already know I'm a big fan of the magazine and also your podcast. So thanks for inviting us both. We've been really excited the last couple of weeks, looking forward to tonight. So thank you, Ardain.
And I was equally excited. And to begin with, I'll begin with you, David. David, how did you, was that Tonya who came to you with the idea of writing a romance novel and infusing uh, such a, I mean, trying to get to you as a composer to make this piece of art a reality. So how did it happen? So, I mean, just put it in a very simple way. So how did you react to Tonya's idea?
This is, we like to say about this project that this is a story within a story, because there is so much magic happening in the background with this project, because the way it started, the way it was born, it was magical indeed. We can tell you in detail if you want to, but you can imagine when someone tells you that she has heard your music, and your music has inspired her the way Tonya was inspired by my song, which is in fact a 1998 song. It's fantastic. For me, it was a dream come true. I can tell you that.
And you agreed to it immediately, right?
Yeah, surely.
Sonia, listen, Tonya, did you have some sort of, were you anxious approaching David to talk about this project?
It's a great question. And the actual genesis of the project for us happened for me. I was sitting on my screen porch looking out at a lake, listening to David's CD, because I was already a fan of his music, and he and I were already friends.
Okay.
And I heard this one song that came on, Venetian Reverie, and all of a sudden, Ardain, the story of Eduardo and Sofia on a gondola on their last night together starts coming to me. And I'm like, what is this? And it wouldn't leave me alone. So I started writing the beginning of the story, and I reached out to David and I said, your song has me writing a romance book right now, and I can't believe this. I've never had something like this happen before. And I said, please, will you let me name the song in the book? And he said, let me get back to you on this. And I thought, well, great. He's not going to let me put the song name in the book. So a couple of days later, he calls me up and he goes, this is a David word now, I have a spark. I said, what kind of spark? And I said, you mean an idea? And he goes, no, it's better than an idea. It's bright. It's a spark. And I said, what's the spark? He said, what if I write an album and produce it, a soundtrack to go with your book? I said, are you serious? You haven't even read the book. He goes, I know this is supposed to be. It's a spark. I said, oh my gosh, it took me a week to recover, to sit back in the chair and start writing, because I couldn't believe this, And so as the process started to unfold, I had the idea with David to include the music, the instruments, and where Sofia and Eduardo were in Venice or Granada when the story was happening. And then David can pick it up right here and tell you how I took too many liberties with my music ideas. So this is where he comes in and talks about me and what I did.
Okay, so one more thing, Tonya, I just want to ask you, but were there any other literary works, past or present? No?
No. This came in to me, like I said, sitting in the chair, fresh, innovative. I was a skeptic at first. I thought, this is nuts. These two characters showing up in my head over a song, and I had no reference to it. And if I hadn't had David by my side, I probably would have checked myself in somewhere and said, what is going on? I'm hearing these people talk to me and tell me their story. but it was an amazing experience and totally original for me. Totally original for me.
So,
Yeah.
David, throughout the writing journey, throughout the this journey, do you communicate with Tonya on a regular basis, or at every chapter or something? How does it work, David?
Well, in fact, the work evolved between she and me talking not every day, but every couple of days. But we have to come to a decision. I have to come to the decision to believe this writer telling me that she has people speaking in her head. And I decided, do I have to follow this idea or not? I decided to propose her what she tells, which is writing an album, because the story she was discovering to me in every call, in every communication, was so brilliant that I thought that we have a destiny to fulfill together.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yes, we have to. We like to say that this work was a feedback, a common feedback between both together. But we had, of course, to have the book written and then to have the music written afterwards. But there was some songs that I sent her. She was able to listen to them while writing, and in return, I have some parts of the book so I can envision in my head to work on the music.
Okay, and I know what it means. Novelistic prose can be literally embellished by music, such the kind that you produce, Dave.
I think we had fulfill our duty here because see, this is not very common. It's not very common to get into the same project to different persons from different countries and different cultures, and we embrace that, and I think we did something very remarkable. That's my goal, and that's what I intend to offer Tonya, the best music I could, because her story was wonderful from the very first word.
And I know pretty much also, Tonya, you seem like you were very lucky to have somebody like David to work with you, because the thing is, as novelists, when David mentioned, you told him that people were talking in your head,
yeah,
and you
the
had to
characters.
respond to them. I know from a novelistic point of view, that's what we do as novelists, right?
Yeah, right.
Our characters speak to us all the time.
And we take dictation as they're speaking.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'm sitting there and I'm taking down and I'm watching them in the scene and I'm writing the scene. And I had 22 scenes where there was music. And I sent David those 22 scenes so that he could see, you know, what was transpiring between the characters, the setting, the mood, the tone, all of that. And in his brilliance, is only he could do. And by the way, don't I have great taste to code with David Bazo? I mean, really, the best. But he took those 22 scenes and absolutely, to use a cliche, blew me away with what came back. I never dreamed there could be such hauntingly beautiful music around a story. He more than delivered.
Yeah. And David, now listen, since we're talking about a collaboration, have you collaborated with writers before, such as this collaboration with Tonya?
I did. In fact, I wrote a soundtrack for an Spanish novel, which is called The Canvas on the Mirror, in Spanish, El lienzo en el espejo. And this is my second soundtrack for a book. Nice question, by the way. Nice question. This is a very different way of working, because This time with Tonya, I had the chance to interact with the author while writing. And the other soundtrack for this other book came to me when the book was written.
Okay.
And this is a completely different experience, as you can imagine.
I remember when I was writing Bittersweet, book 1, I make reference to a Spanish singer by the name Juan Bautista. I believe he was
Bautista. Juan Bautista.
Juan Bautista. He's the one who sang that song, "Tú no comprendes que tu amor es mi destino."
I know.
Tu esperanza mi camino. Yeah, that song. And because when I was, growing up, I really was fascinated about Spanish music because I was born in Haiti, and it's a divided island. On the eastern side was the Dominican Republic, which is obviously a Spanish-speaking country. So I was listening to all the major stars, including Jose Luis Perales, Manolo Galvan, and all these other great singers. When I was probably 18 in Miami, there was a flash on one of the radio stations that Jose Luis Perales was going to be in Miami Beach. I saved my little money just to be there. I felt that night I was so lucky to see him.
So you are a connoisseur. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm fascinated. So I understand exactly what that means because I believe that Sonia collaborating with you in this impeccable project will touch tremendously a lot of hearts. Many hearts will be touched by this.
Thank you. Thanks.
I do appreciate it.
Tonya, I have a question for you. Now, do you guys anticipating, and Sonia, I want you to respond first, on having some sort of a continuation of the same project, or embark upon a new project sometimes in the future? Not obviously. Tonya.
Well, I will answer the first part, and then I will let the commander, also known as David Bazo, answer the last part. Yes, the commander. David has asked me to write a Western more than once. Really? And I have told him I do not write Westerns. And he's like, but I have this juice harp and I want to play it. And I said, you realize you're in Spain. You are not a cowboy. You are not a bronco. And he's like, I want to write saloon music and a dance hall music and a bull. And I'm like, you're in Spain. You are not a cowboy. And so he said, let me call you. So a few minutes later, I get a call, and the man's got the juice harp going, and he's giving me a concert with the juice harp. And I said, you're winding me up. That's what he does so well. I am not writing a Western. I refuse to write a Western. No way. So now David has accepted that I will not be writing a Western, and he can answer the last part of the question with seriousness, since I took the humor side of this one.
All right, David.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Western story was a prank. I wanted to wind her up all the time because I suspected that she didn't like Western, and I was right. So when I found something to wind her up, I inside there. So no, yep. The fun part of the story is that Tonya can tell you that this soundtrack could have a musketeer track on it. And that's a fact. It's not something said basically. She can tell you.
Okay.
So David calls me up one day and he says, I've taken liberties this is his word, not mine. I said, what kind of liberties? He's in the composing, he's in the studio, and he's laying down the tracks for the album. He goes, I'm taking liberties. I said, tell me. He goes, no, I can't. I said, why do you call me and get me on a video chat only to tell me you're confessing? I'm not your priest. What have you done? And he's like, I've taken liberties. I said, yes, I'm clear on that, but what were they? And he says, I've added musket balls and to a song. I said, David, this is not the Revolutionary War in this romance. We are not in America. We are in Spain and we are in Venice. What do you mean musket balls? And he goes, I've added them. They're much better now. I've added this song with musket balls. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, send it to me and let me hear this. And so he sends me the track. And I'm listening. I hear no musket balls. There's no musket balls. So I call him up and I go, where are the musket balls? He goes, it was actually, I have to tell you, the song was magical. It was transportive. And it was like I had flashed to a big gala ball in Venice. And so he's like, you didn't feel the musket balls? And I said, no feeling of musket balls. As it turns out, one of our language laughs that we had plenty, he was saying masked ball to me. And I thought he was saying musket balls. And it was a masked ball that he had written a song, which played perfectly in the book. And he had added that song. And that was his liberty, that he had added this incredible song that turned out to be one of my favorites. And I just was like, I said, we have got to tell people about the musket balls. Nobody would believe some of the language things that we've had fun and laughed so hard about. But that was that answer. But David, you didn't answer him about a future project question. That was what he asked.
David.
Yeah. So you are the boss, so I had to obey. And, yeah, let me tell you, Ardain, we are exploring some ways to keep working together, and we think we had a spark, and we think we have found something. And I can tell you, and maybe I'm talking too much, I can see Tonya's face right now. I can tell you that we are very
seeing her now.
Yeah, we are very excited about some things we are thinking now on going further. I think that we have something in our hands that will be very productive. We are exploring every other ideas we had, but we think we have found something already.
But not yet to be made public, right? Not yet to share.
You have to ask the boss.
That would be you. That would be you.
I'm the masked one. You are the boss.
Put the mask away and leave the juice harp alone. Don't bring it out.
You know, some readers, for example, might want to know, how can a writer and a composer blend music, or how can you really transform novelistic prose into music melodies? How can you do that, Tonya?
You know, I have an answer that I wouldn't have had 3 days ago for you, but I do now. Okay. I had written something relating to this project that we're exploring, and I had sent it to David. And he, in turn, because it's who he is, and his music is both breathtaking and breath-giving. I mean, it's that he's that remarkable. So I sent him this idea, call it a synopsis. And he calls me up and he said, I have something I want to play for you. I had a spark, okay? And he's at the piano and he plays this piece for me. And Ardain, what I heard, I have never heard anyone do before. His left hand on the piano was playing the male character.
Really?
His right hand was playing my female character, and it
Wow.
was so obvious to me, and it took my breath away because I immediately knew he was transposing this synopsis of this story into music right then and there with both characters in that piano. And I've never heard anyone do that before, ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, which seems to fit right into the many people around the world who have become so accustomed and fascinated by David, really music and his composition of great works of art. Now, when you were young, David, did you realize, did you have any idea that you were going to become such a well-known, award-winning musician that you are today?
Not really, not really. I can tell you a story, a short one, that when I was young, my mother brought home a guitar for us, for my sister and me to play, and I didn't like that. I didn't like guitar. It was not my interest. We left the instrument apart, and I never tried to pick it up, nothing. And my mother even took home a neighbor who was a fine guitarist to play the guitar here at home. So to see if I can connect to the instrument, to be interested, but I didn't. I didn't like the guitars. I wasn't interested. And my mother always wanted me to have a musical background. And with this story of the guitar, she told me, I always wanted that my son would play guitar. And that sentence kept in the back of my mind. And see now.
Yes, I can see.
So no, to answer your question, no, I never thought I would be working on music the way I'm doing now. But for me, and Tonya can tell you, I think writing music is very close to writing a book or a script or something like that, because you are creating a story. And what Tonya and I do is writing a story into a story. And we have our stories conveyed into one. And this is the fantastic part of it.
You know, last time, Tonya, when we had a conversation, this question I wanted to answer this question. Somehow I forgot often how she managed to be a recognized, critically acclaimed writer. I never really I wanted to ask the question, but I never had this opportunity to do so. Now that we're all together talking, can you share this with the audience, Tonya?
I can answer that because
because I didn't have an answer.
I can answer that. This is because he is so damn good. He is a writer, but at the same time, he's a director. She writes not novels, but films as well, because her novels are very cinematic. When you are orchestrating novels for Tonya, you feel like you are doing a movie soundtrack, because she has a lot of rhythm in her writing. And that's the truth. That's my answer. Now let's hear her.
What she has to say. Okay.
I like his answer a lot. I think I could never top that. But for me, I returned to writing after a long time of being away from it.
Okay.
And as far as the stories and how they came, when I returned to writing, I was writing nonfiction and fiction short stories. That's how I got back into writing again. And I was very fortunate. I had probably 50, 75 of them published. And I ended up writing my first novel, Old Mountain Cassie, because of a writer's group refusing to let it be a short story. They liked the character. They said, you've got to make her a book. And I'm like, I don't write books. I don't have the patience to sit down and write a book. But this character didn't leave me alone, much like Sophia and Eduardo.
Okay.
And so that was my first book. And I've now written, I have 8 published, and I have 2 in the pipeline. I was very fortunate. My agent got me a 3-book deal a few months ago. So I have 2 more books in a pipeline for Level Best Books. But it's really been one step at a time, and just keep showing up and writing. And I've been fortunate to have 5 or 6 publishers take my books.
Wow.
And take them out. And I want to take this moment, speaking of publishers, congratulations, Ardain, on launching your new publishing company. I am so excited for you with this endeavor. It's going to be great. Just like your books are great. This is going to be awesome for you. Congratulations.
I subscribe the congratulations to you, Ardain.
Thank you so much.
I wish you the best luck. I know you will have plenty of it.
Thank you.
He'll make a success.
Thank you. Thank you. When I have great people like you as supporters, how can I fail? You know, you just lifted my spirit just by saying those lovely and encouraging words. And
you're an amazing author, and you know I've read your books and reviewed them with great joy and great appreciation. So when you told me that you were launching a publishing company, I was ecstatic for you, because gosh knows we need good publishers out there that have a heart and really embrace authors and treat them with the authenticity that you do in everything you do. So it's going to be fabulous. Anyone that writes for you will be blessed. I have no doubt.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The world needs good publishers, so welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. You know, it's a tough journey, but you know, if you have the guts, I would say, and the dignity, and you know, you will succeed, just like everything else in life. Okay. So, David, let me just get back to, just like we told Sonia. Did you have growing up any particular composer who inspired you? Because I remember I made reference to Francis Lay. Remember he collaborated in the great movie Love Story?
Yeah. Fantastic title.
Any composer, any musician, classic or otherwise, who inspired you?
Well, I have to tell you that I pay close attention to film soundtracks, and that's what gets me inspired nowadays. But I do listen to very different kind of music, and at the same time I have to tell you that I intend not to listen to so much music while I'm working, because otherwise it will interfere in my creativity process. But I listen to very different things, and I cannot relate to a unique source. I can tell you that I pay close attention to soundtracks, and I can tell you that I think John Williams, the Hollywood soundtrack writer, to be the most valuable treasure we have on filmmaking today.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So now my other question for you, David. So how did you feel when you received your first award recognition for your work? What was the feeling?
Well, I can tell you that I don't believe so much on awards, but the award I was given was for a soundtrack I did for for a project that was involved in nuclear weapons disclosure. So this was very important for me because for me it was an award for everybody involved in the project. I don't get very much excited by awards. I'm get excited by the well done work instead. I can tell you that.
But you know what? Unfortunately, this isn't something that you have control of. You know? Yeah. Once you publish a piece of art, it's out there for everyone who loves to appreciate your work. And once they realize that your work has value, so they, honor it, and it's a great appreciation. You may not like awards, but if your art is elevated to that level, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, true. You're right. But I think most of the time the recognition comes from the public itself. And for me, the most recognition I can get is having people like Tonya wanting to work with me. That's a reward, and that's an award I do appreciate most than any other.
Wow, Tonya. Wow. But because this is something that you live every day. And the award happens maybe once in the blue moon. But your collaboration with your friends and the mere fact that you can wake up every day and still has an opportunity to call Tonya about something, to share something, to collaborate on a project, it means a lot. And I know.
You're so right. That's so true, Ardain. The friendship that we have is the forever kind, and it all came from a song. It's a destiny, as David said, that we're living and fulfilling. And just as Eduardo and Sophia had many unexplainables, so have David and I along this journey. But the one constant is we keep heading toward the North Star. We're always pointed toward the North Star with what we're doing. And it's been pure joy to work with him. I could say it's an honor, but even that doesn't touch on the feeling that it is to work with someone that has such brilliance, that is able to transpose words into such emotion that you feel the music and the words simultaneously. It's truly, he labeled what we did, this project with Venetian, as an immersive experience for a reader and a listener. And it truly is. He nailed it with that description. It is a fully immersive experience. Without his music, it would just be a story, a romance, a grand romance. But with the music, it's atmospheric.
Exactly.
It's atmospheric.
Exactly. Yeah. Since we're getting just about the end of our conversation, but there's one thing I just want to, Tonya, okay, beside a collaboration with you and David, any standalone project that you have?
As I mentioned, my agent put me in a contract with 3 books. I've written 2 of them. They're in the pipeline with a publisher with Level Best Books. So I have 1 more book to write to fulfill that, which will probably be done next year. So I have 2 books that are in various phases right now, getting ready into editing this summer, and then next year the second one releases. And depending on what my commander, Bazo, has me doing, I don't know if I'll have a chance to write another book if we pursue the project that we're interested in right now, other than what he and I are discussing, unless I can clone myself to write something for your publishing company.
Exactly. You know what? And I'm waiting for it too.
Yes.
I'll be, dying for something like this. But you know what? I'm the first, who
Let me tell you, let me tell you, Ardain, that
Okay.
Tonya is so busy that she has to find the correct way to work with me because she's so busy at the moment.
No, I
So
know.
maybe you can convince her.
Well, I'm not so sure about that because every time I send her a little message, you know what? She try to answer. I mean, she's prompt. I really love Tonya's promptitude. She's always prompt. And then she said, now back to writing. She always say that.
Yeah,
Back to writing, you know. I know.
That's
Well,
what
let's
I
go.
but
do.
you never know. If I'm so lucky, I might be able to get something out of her, right? Someday.
It will come from my agent right to you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, as we get into the end of it, I'd like each of you, I'll begin with you first, David. David, you know, the power, you understand the power of collaboration, you know, and art in particular, um, and fine art, the beaux-arts, as we would say that in French. So, what lesson would you give to a viewer out there who would want to embark upon a journey like this to collaborate with a novelist like Tonya? What lesson would you give? And to make it so successful as it is, as this realization with you and Tonya, what lesson?
I got so many lessons working with Tonya on this project because she took me out of my comfort zone. And that's something you always get into the proposal of learning something new. Tonya books, as I told you, has a lot of rhythm and a
I
lot of
know.
humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be able to reflect that into the music. And I tend to be more dramatic. Um, um, for me, the romantic part was the easy one, but I had to add more because the depth of the story written by Tonya needed something else that I wasn't able to compel from my
Previous work.
habitual skills. So I had
Okay.
to go further on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that she took me out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, I had to learn so much things to complete this soundtrack. And on the personal level, I cannot compare working with Sonia like working with the other writer I was working with, and I cannot compare working with her with working with a director for a film. For instance, for me, working with Sonia is working with someone very close to me. When she tells you that we are close friends, it's true, and we believe that we can connect to the same level of spirituality and even the same level of creation dimension. I cannot explain that to you, but we think we belong to the same place.
Uh-huh.
And maybe we belong from the same age. And for me, working with Sonia is very easy. I learned a lot because I was working with a friend. And to approach working on a soundtrack, you have to give and take. But with Sonia, I didn't had that impression because it all was fluent between her and me. It was very easy to work with her.
Okay. And Tonya, I would say the same thing with you too, Tonya. You know what? Any little lesson, because I know you have a huge followership on Twitter, and many of them are writers. So I'm pretty sure that have conveyed or probably their appreciation or shared with you. You have shared with them, you know, a part of the project. And if you were to advise any of them or any viewer out there who would want to do something like this, so what lesson would you give them?
the most important thing I feel is to have a connection to the composer, the musician, the producer. It was David's music that inspired me. So in order to create and write a story, the music has to be inspirational and it has to fill in gaps that words can't possibly do. So for someone that would want to undertake this kind of a project, which is challenging, you know, David and I had a lot of fun doing it. But when we began it, you know, friends and family said, this can't work. You guys live on different continents. What are you, nuts? But
we probably have said the same thing, you know.
Yes, but we were compelled. We never once doubted that this was what we were supposed to do.
Right.
And so I think not only do you, as an author, do you need to find someone, good luck, because there's only one David. You have to find someone that you feel that connection to, that we have. And then you have to have the inspiration to move forward. What is it that you're connected to do? What are you both called to do? And it's a process, you know, of doors opening, and you just keep stepping through to see if it's meant to be, if it feels right. And that's exactly what we did. It all started with me saying, could I just use your song title in my story? And he comes back and he says, I have a better idea. That spark, let me do a soundtrack. And that was the door. It was okay, do the door. Tonya, write the book and put music scenes in the book so that it helps David, you know, be able to weave that into the soundtrack and have it have a depth that it wouldn't have otherwise. And it was that process. So you take I'll sum it up this way. It's one of my mantras. Take the first step and the next will be revealed. That's it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And on that beautiful note, and I just want to say it has been such a pleasure
For
to
me
sit down,
too.
to have such
Our pleasure, Ardain. Thank you.